That's Met Part 3.
No. All right, so we're going over the practice exit exam. So if you go to classroom and you click on algebra exit exam, the practice exit exam. So it's underneath the algebra exit exam section, and it's called the practice exit exam, is a copy of the exam. All right.
I see PDF, Cami.
Open with Cami. You want to do the one that says open with Cami. All right, so Maria is selling cupcakes for $1.65 each. C, B, the number of cupcakes Maria sells. S is going to be her sales in dollars, which represents the relationship between C and S. So if S is the sales, right, that's your total. So we can eliminate the ones that equal C because it should equal the total, okay? Now, we have 165 each. Each in math means per, so we're multiplying. So the answer is A. Questions? All right. The answer for number 1 is A. And if you're in Cami, it will let you write on your screen. So you can add text, you can use the pen and write. All right. Question number 2. For several weeks, Teddy really focused his time on studying, so his math quiz scores slowly improved. As he began to understand the concepts, his scores improved more rapidly. He then stopped studying, and his quiz scores no longer improved. Which of the following graphs represents Teddy's quiz scores as a function of time in weeks? So when we're looking at a function of time, we're looking at the relationship between time and scores. So time is going to be the x, and the scores is on the y value. If we look at B, his scores are, the time doesn't start up here. And this shows a decrease, and he never said that his scores went down. So it cannot be B. C also has a decrease in it, so it's not going to be C. So when you're doing tests like these, you should always try to eliminate answers right away. All right, now we're looking between A and D. And when you see a horizontal line like this in a graph, it means that nothing is changing, right? Nothing is, his scores are not changing at all. And so if we look back, that happened at the end. So it wasn't in the middle, it was at the end. So the answer for this one is also going to be A, because here where there's the plateau, there's no change in his scores at the end of the story, not in the middle. Okay. All right, question number 3. If A equals negative 4t squared plus 5t plus 4, and B equals 9t squared minus 3t plus 5, what is B minus A? Okay. You can tell me and I can write it, or you can try and write it. But you have to write it on here so they can see it. On the board. Yeah, you can see here. So this is like the mouse. So when you move it, you'll see the cursor move. Oh, yeah. And then just go over here and hit the eraser. It's also a touch, so it should. Oh. I'll click on the pen.
Okay, how do I get it over here?
And you write.
Oh, okay.
So you have to figure out like where the pen goes.
Oh, it's okay. So first, you can put if it's B minus A, you're gonna do 9t squared minus 4t squared, which is 5.
No.
Oh,
What did you do?
I don't know what I'm doing.
Get out of here.
I can't write on that.
Hang on a second, everybody.
You mind if I just call your name?
It's A, because you're only on 35.
Okay. So as Roya was saying, we're going to write. What did you?
This one, actually, I don't think it's working out. Sorry.
I know her name is not actually Roya, but it's her middle name.
What?
It's Roya.
Okay. All right. So 9t squared minus 3t plus 5, and then we're going to subtract negative 4t squared plus 5t plus 4. So because it's subtraction, you're subtracting each of these. So you're doing 9t squared minus negative 4. So that's like adding. So it changes all the signs. So it'll end up being 13t squared. Here you have negative 3 minus a positive 5. So you end up with negative 8t. And 5 minus 4, which is a positive 1. So you have to be really careful with these because when it's subtraction, each of the signs changes. All right, questions about number 3. A very common mistake that was made on the test is students were doing A minus B. And subtraction is not commutative, so you can't change the order like that. So that was the biggest mistake. The second one was doing 9 minus 4 instead of 9 minus negative 4. So really pay attention to the signs for all of them. All right, for 4, which of the following is not a true statement about the graph of the linear equation 3x plus 5y equals 20? When you have anything that is dealing with a graph, use the graphing calculator. So if I go to the exam, this is your practice test, right? So if I go here and I show you, all right, so question 4, right? When you're in here and you see this little toolbox right here, you click on it and you click on Advanced Calculator, a Desmos screen will pop up. This is the calculator that you should use. You can move it, and then I can even write on the screen so I can see it. So is the y-intercept of the line at 0, 4? Yes, it is. So that one is true. Is the slope of the line negative 3/5? Well, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's also a point on the line. So yes, that is the slope. The slope of the line is the angle of the line and the change in the y over the change in the x. As the x value increases, the y value is increasing. Is that true? As x gets bigger, is y going up? No, we can see it, right? It's going down. So it's actually going to be, so then we look here. Okay, so the line intersects, oh, I'm sorry, we're looking for which one is not true. That one was not true, so the answer would be C. B is true. That is the slope of this line. All right, so for this one, again, graph it. And we know that then the, why does it keep doing this? That they, that was not true. Questions about that? So Ms. Mason, if I miss anything in the chat, make sure you let me know because I'm not really paying attention to this.
Yeah, no, you're good.
Okay. Jelani made a mistake solving an equation. His work is shown below. 5x minus 3 times the quantity 2x minus 4 is equal to 2x. Where did Jelani make a mathematical mistake? So as you're doing these, right, you need to start trying to figure out, like, okay, where is something wrong? So here, the first thing that they did was subtract 5x. That's allowed, right? 2x minus 5x is negative 3. So that's okay. Then they distributed. That's how they got rid of the parentheses. So if I distribute negative 3 times 2x minus 4, and I distribute, I get negative 6x, but then negative 3 and negative 4 is a positive 12. So this is not correct. So the error came in going from step 2 to step 3, okay? So when you're looking at where the mistake is, it's always in between the last correct one and the first wrong one. So it's going to be going from step 2 to step 3. A lot of times students will say step 3 to 4 because on line 3 is where they see the mistake. But if you see it on where it says step 3, the mistake was already made, okay? So just be really careful with that because that's a very common mistake is that students pick 3 to 4 because they're seeing a mistake on line 3, okay? So that's a common misconception. All right. The table below shows the total cost of parking a car in a downtown parking garage for different lengths of time. Which of the following statements represents the rate of change of the line containing the data in the table? So rate of change is the same idea as slope. So you're looking at the change in the cost over the change in the hours. So we're not looking at a difference, right? Difference would be subtraction. So that one's out. It's not total cost. That's your total. That's not a rate. So then are we looking at the rate for 1 hour or the cost for 1 hour or the cost for 6 hours? When we find the rate of change, what would we find? Would we find the rate for 1 hour or do we find the rate for 6 hours? When you're finding rate of change. When you're finding rate of change, you find the rate for 1 hour. So you want to do A. You don't find the rate for multiple hours. You always want the denominator to be 1.
Is that because it's changing, Mr. Anthony? So like the per hour is more, well, because the cost is changing. I mean, okay.
So usually when we're finding a rate of change, we find the cost per hour.
So usually time is on the bottom is the key.
Yes.
Typically.
Yes. Yeah, cost will be in your numerator and the number of hours will be in your denominator. All right, so 7 is a quadratic x1. However, if you didn't go through the quadratic ones, that's okay. Because when in doubt, you should always graph it. So, again, I'm going to go to my graphing calculator and I'm going to graph the function. So
it comes in handy a lot.
Right? F of x equals negative 7 times x plus 2 times 5x minus 15. Now, I can't see the top or bottom of my parabola, but that doesn't matter because what are they asking me? They want to know when the zeros are. And whenever they're asking you for zeros of a function, they want to know what the x value is when y is 0. So, the zeros are the x value when y is 0. So we could do this algebraically, and I'll show that in just a second. I'm sorry, I forgot to share this. So I am writing on here, zeros are the x value when y is 0, okay? So if we go to our graphing calculator, I can see where, and you can see that it's kind of like a little gray dot, and if you click on it, it will label that point for you. So it's really easy to see what it is. So one of the zeros is negative 2, and the other is 3. So then when we go back here, it was negative 2 and 3. Now we can also do this algebraically. So again, I want to know what is x when y is 0. So I can take what's inside the parentheses and set that equal to 0. And if I do that and then solve for x, right, so just solving my 1 and 2 step equations, which you all did very well with, right? I get the same answers. X is -2 and 3. Okay, so this is where we have our zeros. Questions? Okay. So 8 is, they want to know the expansion of 2x squared minus 3x minus 1 times the quantity x plus 5. What's the coefficient of x squared? So this is where we're going to be multiplying the polynomials. Riley, do you want to tell me what to write, or do you want me to do it? Okay.
Oh, shit.
Okay. So tell me how to fill in the box.
Alright, so, wait, you got square x, 2x4.
I got it. Okay, how about this one? X times -3x. So the first one here, I already had 2 x's and I added in one more. So that's why it became x to the third.
Oh, that's a 2, not a 4, because the 2 on the right
Oh.
side look like a 4 from over here.
Sorry, no, that's a 2.
Alright, so x, alright, so wouldn't that be -3x squared?
Yes, sir.
Is there -1x?
Mm-hmm.
That'd be, what do you add? That'd be 7x.
Multiply. You're adding. Multiply.
How you get 10? 10?
Yeah.
10x to the 35?
No, this one's only squared because this one doesn't have its own x.
Oh yeah, you got it.
Okay.
You do this in the last. I forgot.
5 and -3x.
That'd be 15, -15x.
Mm-hmm. Awesome, thank you. Now here they just want to know the coefficient for x squared. So we don't even need all the rest of the numbers. We can just focus on our squared terms. So here I have a -3 and a 10. Well, but we had to multiply to make sure we had all the terms we needed. So now we have -3x squared plus 10x squared. So when I combine those, what do I get? Sure. -3x squared plus 10x squared. Nope, because 10 is positive.
Also, that'd be 13? No, 7.
Yep.
It'd be 7x. Ain't that
No, because we're just adding. So we're just adding those coefficients. Okay, so okay. All right, so that again, we don't need the other terms because they're only interested in the x squared coefficient for this one, for the final answer. Okay, now question number 9. The one that you had to answer is different than the one they originally asked. So again, make sure you're answering the question that they want you to answer. So they want to know what is the x-coordinate of the vertex of the function. So of course, what are we going to do? We're going to graph it. Oh, sorry, I forgot to change again. So we're going to use the graphing calculator again. X plus 1 squared minus 25/9. The vertex is either the highest or lowest point on the graph. So that's going to be right here. And they're asking for the x-coordinate. So the x-coordinate is -1. That's it.
That's it?
That's all you have to do for that one. Yep. Graph it, find the point. All right. If Sam works 8 hours per week, then his weekly income from his car repair business is 15h minus 100. Which of the following best describes the meaning of 15 in the expression? So H is the number of hours per week. So that can't be the 15. B says the amount of money he makes after he accounts for the cost to run his business. But we don't have a total here, so that's not going to be right. The amount he earns each hour, the 15 is being multiplied by the H, so that each makes sense. And here again, the amount of money he makes before he accounts for the cost to run his business. The 15 isn't like a total. It's a rate because it's being multiplied. So the answer is going to be C. All right. 11 is interpreting the function. Okay, so you're interpreting the slope of the function. The temperature T in Fahrenheit as a function of altitude A in feet is modeled by the linear function T equals negative 35/10,000 A plus 60. So which one is correct? Well, it's a negative slope. So here I have increase and increase, increase, decrease, increase, 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 decrease. So as our A is increasing, right? Is the temperature increasing? No. So A is out and C is out automatically because the temperature is decreasing. So now we need to think about how are we looking at this rate? So is the rate telling us every 10,000 feet or is it talking about every foot? It's talking about every foot. So D is going to be the answer. See, Riley, you should have taken this test. You're getting them all right. All right, so now let's look at 12. So 12 looks a little bit scary, but it's really not, okay? You all can do this because we've practiced this a lot. It says if x minus 7 is one of the factors of 2x squared minus 11x plus k, what is the other factor? Well, this just means we need to multiply. And if you look, all of these start with 2x, and this is x. So the 2x squared, we know that's going to be the case. We don't need to worry about that for any of them. So that's not important. The plus k tells us they don't care what the c value is either. They don't even tell us what it is. We're focusing on this b term, okay? So when we're multiplying, that's the number we're looking for. So if I have x and negative 7, all right, then I'm going to have 2x and negative 21. So again, I'm just multiplying. I don't even care about this first box because that's where the 2x squared goes. So I don't care about this one. And I don't care about this one because that's where the c term goes. So you don't even have to do those. You can just do the other two. So then I have negative 14x here and negative 21x. Well, that's not going to get me a negative 11. All right, let's try a different one. So now I'll try x minus 7 and 2x negative 17. So again, I don't care about this one and I don't care about this one. So I cross those out. So I have negative 14x and negative 17x. Well, that's not adding to negative 11. So now I can try. Is that bright enough, Miss Mason? I can't, like.
Yeah. Oh,
okay. I wasn't sure if you could see if the orange was showing up.
Oh, no. You can see it clearly.
Okay. So now we're going to try 2x and 3. Don't care about this one. Don't care about this one. So this is negative 14x, and this is 3x. But negative 14x plus 3x is negative 11. So this is going to be the answer. All right, 13, given h of x equals 2x cubed plus x squared plus 7, what is the value of h of negative 3? This is just evaluating. It's just substituting and simplifying. So anywhere you see an x, you substitute and put a negative 3. You can use a calculator or you can just write it out. The big thing that you have to remember though is the number being expanded is a -3. What happens a lot is that students don't include the negative and then end up with the wrong answer because they get the wrong sign. So then this is -54 plus 9 plus 7. -54 plus 16. So -38. Okay. 14. Naoki has 50 CDs. She joins a club that sends her 3 CDs each month. Which of the following equations expresses the number of CDs and in Naoki's collection as a function of the number of months T after she joins the club? So she has 50, right? So that's an initial value. That's then your y-intercept. She gets 3 CDs each month, so that's a rate. So that's your slope. So then you just put that into your equation and see which one matches. Now they use N and T because that's what was given here. I should have used the same. But then that's why we end up with D. Okay. All right, so 15 again, we're looking at graphs. So of course, what I'm going to tell you is to graph it. And what they're asking for is they want to know for what value of x does f of x equal g of x. So when would they intersect? Now when you're on here, if you see a straight line like this, f of x then, the value of it is just 4, okay? So when you go to graph it, the value of f of x is 4. So see, I get that same line. G of x is -3/2. Now, see how the cursor is next to the 2 and it's in the denominator? If I don't move the cursor and I put in the x, see how my graph is a different kind of function. You don't have to deal with these kinds of functions yet. So you have to make sure and use the right arrow button to move it over, then put your x. 13, where do they intersect? If you click on the dot, it will highlight it for you. The x value when they are equal is 6. Questions? All right. A line passes through 2 points, 0, -2, and 9, 1. What is the y-coordinate of the point on this line whose x-coordinate is 12? So we need to write an equation. So we have our y-intercept, right? So b is -2. Now we need to find our m. So we're going to do 1 minus -2 over 9 minus 0 is 3/9. Okay, so that's our slope. Remember, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 is the slope. So y equals 1/3 x minus 2. I know the x-coordinate is 12, so I will substitute in the 12 and simplify. And I get that y is equal to 2. So you have to remember the formula for slope-intercept forms so that you can use it. I don't know. All right. So here again, find all of the solutions when this is equal to 0. We're going to graph it. And we're going to see what happens when it's equal to 0. So give me 1 sec to put the equation in and then I'll share the tab. So x squared, plus 2x minus 3. And when is this equal to 0? It's equal to 0 at these 2 points. Now, it's a quadratic function. You could factor it. You could use the quadratic formula, or just graph it and find the zeros. So this is why we've had you practicing with Desmos so much, because this is the calculator you get to use for your summative. Probably not. All right, let's do a couple more and then we'll take a quick break. All right, so tickets for a high school play sell for $5. 700 tickets were sold in advance. The theater has 1,000 seats. Let A be the total amount of ticket sales in dollars, including tickets sold at the door. Which statement best describes A? So we have to think about kind of the two sets of numbers, right? So some of them were sold in advance. So if we take 700 and multiply it by 5, this is money made in advance, right? But that's not necessarily all the money they're going to make. We also know that they can only sell this many seats. So if we take that number and multiply it, this is the max amount they can make. Right? They can't make more money because they can't sell more tickets than that. So the amount that and A is the amount they're going to make. So that needs to be in between those two. So the answer has to be C. Okay? Yeah, Kian.
I was just checking and I saw that on the test it says the correct answer for 17 was B.
Did I circle the wrong one? Oh, I did it backwards. Hang on. Yeah, I'm sorry. I did it backwards. Thank you, Kian. Yeah, it's -3 and +1. Sorry about that. Right, if we look back at the graph, it was a -3 and a +1. I inverted it when I went to circle the answer, which is why it's also nice that your graph will be like right there on the screen, so you won't have to worry about that. But thank you for checking on that.
So now I'll be back in 2 seconds.
Okay.
I was just looking on the side. It says
Old directions.
So you can use calculator on
You can use the one that's embedded in the program. You can also have a handheld one if you wanted to have one, but we haven't used it, so because like in normal, hang on. All right. Given the graph below, which of the following gives the number of values of x where f of x is equal to g of x? So again, this one looks super complicated, but it's really not. You're really just finding where are they the same. Well, they're the same right here, and they're the same right here, and right here, 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 and here. How many times is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They're the same 6 times. That's all you have to do for that one. So a lot of these students try to like think too much with the question. Okay, 20 was different. I'm going to do this 20 instead. It's similar, but they took out part of it. So soccer balls kicked upward from the ground with a speed of 96 feet per second. Its height, h, in feet after t seconds is given by this equation. How many seconds will it take the soccer ball to reach its maximum height? So of course, what are we going to do? We're going to graph it. And if the calculator pops up and you can't see what you need to see, you can move it. All right, and then we can move. So if you like click and hold and just move the screen, you can find the top, oh my goodness, of this function. And this point is 3 and 144. The question is, how many seconds will it take the soccer ball to reach the maximum height? So which one of those numbers is seconds? The 3 or the 144? So even though they use h and t, t is the same as x. So the x value is going to give you the time. So the time is 3 seconds. It will reach a height of 144 feet.
I did know.
All right, question 21. Andreas is explaining. Good luck. Okay, what do you want to do? Are you graphing? Are you doing work? What are you doing?
I was just gonna. I'm not gonna grab it.
Okay, so then this is just your mouse, and you can write. Or you can use a trackpad, but I use it, you just use it as a pen, and like pretend like the whole screen is this. So you are only using this part, so you're using like right in here. So just practice like moving the mouse, and you'll see. See? Too high. There you go. Hang on a second. See where the cursor is? And then when it'll make a mark. So keep it kind of in the middle.
So for this equation, I like to find the x and y intercepts, especially for standard form. And the way that we do that is we can do
All right, I can write it. You tell me. I will be your scribe.
Can you write the?
So you just explain it, and I will write down what you're saying.
So
okay?
what I did was I divided, used the standard form equations that we gave and divided by c instead of. So I did 3 divided by 12, and then I also did, because there's 1 in front of b, I did 1 divided by 12. Or 12 divided by 1. So that would equal the x-intercept being 4, 3, 4, x-intercept being 4, and the y-intercept being 12. And then I did the same thing for the other one, which 12 or 48 divided by 12 equals 4, and 48 divided by 4 equals 12. And that means that the intercepts, the x and y intercepts both match, which means that it's the same line, which would mean that they cross infinite many times.
Yep. All right. So that is definitely one way to do it, looking at the intercepts. You can also, of course, graph it. So if we graph it, right, 3x plus y equals 12 is here. Wait, was that what the... Let me zoom out. Okay. And then 12x plus 4y equals 48. And if you look, they're the exact same, right? One is on top of the other. You can, if you click on the circle, it takes the line away. You can see they're the same. So if you don't know Andreas's trick about the intercepts, graph it and see what happens. So this one, they want to know how many solutions. They're the same line, so they've infinitely many. All right. 22 is asking you to solve one variable in terms of the other. So we're just solving the equation. It's just we won't be able to simplify all of the way because we have a variable. So we want to get C by itself. So I'm going to add 2. And this is just like a two-step equation, right? If I had 6 equals, 4x minus 2, the first thing that I would do is I would add 2, right? So then I would have 6 plus 2 equals 4x. And then the next thing I would do, so that's what I'm doing here. So I have a plus 2 equals b times c. The next thing we would do here is we would divide by the 4, right? Now, because I have numbers, I could simplify it here, same step, divide by b, but I don't have numbers, so I have to leave the variables there. But you're following all of the same steps that you would if there were numbers. Okay, same steps. All right. Which of the following tables represent functions? So the big thing with functions is that x's are not allowed to repeat. For a function, every x has to have one y. So if you were going to graph it, right, you can have a straight line, you can have a parabola, you can have a squiggly line. These are all functions. These all work. If you have something that goes like that, no, okay? Like circles, not functions, no, okay? These do not work. So here, x repeats, not a function. X repeats and the y values are different, not a function. None of the x's repeat, function. None of the x's repeat, function. X repeats, y does not a function. That's all you need to know. I mean, for functions, that's it. So it's tables 3 and 4. All right. So again, functions, x's do not repeat. Or if they do repeat, the y's will then also repeat. So if the x stays the same, the y also then stays the same. Okay, this one you did not have. You had a different question. So let's go back to the checkpoint, because yours was a different system. I don't know why they changed it, but they did. Okay, so Joe is running a concession stand at a basketball game which sells hot dogs and sodas. Each hot dog costs $1.50. Soda costs 50 cents. At the end of the night, Joe sold a total of 87 hot dogs and sodas combined. He made a total of $78.50. How many hot dogs did he sell? So we have to write an equation, or a system of equations for this. So we know that altogether, this one won't let, ready? Altogether, x plus y has to equal 87. We know that 150x plus 50 cents y has to equal my total money. Okay, so when you're doing systems, a lot of times you're going to have these combinations, okay? Because he did a total of them together, I add x and y together. This is the total cost, so I'm going to find this is how much he made for hot dogs and how much he made for sodas. And now what am I going to do? I'm going to graph it. I go to my tools, I go to my advanced calculator, and I put my equations in. So x plus y equals 87 and 1.5x plus 0.5y equals 78.5. All right, now obviously I can't be centered. I need to zoom out. If you click on one of the graphs, see how that silver dot appeared? I don't know if it's showing up dark enough, but once you click on one of the lines, the silver dot will appear, and that is their intersection. And if you click on it, it'll become bold. So they want to know how many hot dogs. So which one of these, the X or the Y, was hot dogs? Who remembers? Was hot dogs X or Y? Based on the prices. Kian, do you have your hand up or was that up from earlier? Okay. So hot dogs were 150, so that's our X. So we sold 35 hot dogs. Okay. All right, here we go. All right, 25 is solving an inequality. So we start, so negative 3 times x minus 4 is less than or equal to 9 plus x. I distribute the negative, so negative 3x plus 12 is less than or equal to 9 plus x. Again, this is a negative 3 and a negative 4, so that's why they become positive. I'm going to add my x to keep it positive. Subtract the 9. So when I'm dealing with inequalities, I usually try to keep my x values positive just so I don't have to worry about changing my inequality. But here, because my number is on the left and the variable is on the right, I need like the reflection of it. I need to flip it. So if I rewrite it, I have to remember that the big opening for the inequality is next to the x. So x is greater than or equal to 3/4. 26. The table shows x and y values for a quadratic function. Which of the following is not true? So I'm going to just make a little sketch of what this would look like. Okay. So negative 1, negative 7, it's about here. 0, negative 1, 1, 1. So I'm not being like too careful here. 2, negative 1, 3, negative 7. So if I connected those dots, ta-da, okay. Which one is not true? The parabola opens upward. This is opening down, right? The bottom of it is what's bigger. Done. I don't even care about the rest. I want to know which one is not true. That one is not true. Move on. When you're dealing with tests like this, if you get one, keep going. All right. 27. The surface area S of a right circular cylinder with height h and radius r is given by the formula S equals 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r h. Which of the following equations gives h for a right circular cylinder with a surface area of 54? So the 54 is going to replace the S. So we end up with 54 equals 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r h. Everything is even, so the first thing I can do is divide by 2. So then I get 27 is equal to pi r squared plus pi r h. I want h by itself, so I'm going to subtract pi r squared. When I look at my answer, there's still a pi in the answers for most of them, so I'm not going to change it and try to like simplify it with a number. I'm going to treat it like a variable. All right, and then I'm going to divide. So then h is equal to 27 minus pi r squared over pi r, which is C. Okay. All right, Ben is studying how the number of bacteria in a dish changes over time. He determines the initial number of bacteria in the dish is 640. The number of bacteria doubles at the end of each hour. Which function can Ben use to determine the number of bacteria in the dish after T hours? Bacteria grows at an exponential rate. There is only one exponential function, and that's D. So whenever you see bacteria, that's going to be an exponential function, so you need to have a variable in the exponent. None of the rest work. All right, Sandra buys 3 notebooks and 5 pens for $10.47. Hector buys 2 of the same notebooks and 6 of the same pens for $9.58. Which system of equations can be used to find x, the cost of a single notebook, and y, the cost of a single pen? So what we can do is we can start by looking at, okay, so Sandra had 3 notebooks, so that's 3x. She also had 5 pens, so and 5 pens, and her total was $10.47. Hector had 2 notebooks plus 6, oh, sorry, up there I put a P instead of a Y. And his total was $9.58. So the only one that works is C. So be careful because some of them look really similar, but they're like mixing up some of the numbers. So you have to keep track. Suppose a baseball player hits a ball in the air. After t seconds, the height h of t in meters of the ball is modeled by h of t equals negative 4 9/10 t squared plus 30t plus 1 4/10. Which of the following is the best interpretation of h of 2 within this context? So with this one, I see h of 2, and the 2 replaced the t. Since 2 replaced the t, I know that this is seconds, 2 seconds. So over here, where it's for B, where it says after 41.8 seconds, that can't be. And here it's only talking about 1 second, so it cannot be D. So now I need to figure out the next 2. So of course, my favorite thing to do, I'm going to graph it and see what is happening at 2 seconds. So negative 4 and 9/10 x squared. Oh, you can use t. It doesn't want me to use t, so I'm going to change it to x. Okay. Gosh, sorry. Now I want to know what is happening at 2. So the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add x equals 2, because then what it does is it graphs that line, and I can see where they intersect. So if we look at that intersection point, is that after 2 seconds, the ball is 41 8/10 meters high, or is that the maximum height? So we look at that graph, the maximum height is actually over here, closer to 3 seconds. But the height of the ball is 41 8/10 after 2 seconds. So the answer is going to be A, not C. All right, so 31 is also looking at an exponential function. And so just to make sure everyone understands like the basics for the exponential function, if we have f of x, right, that is equal to a times b to the x. And I know a lot of you started working on this, but just in case, the a value is your initial value, your starting point. Also your y-intercept. Okay. The b value is the factor. Okay. This is how is it changing? It's getting all glitchy. Okay, so the initial value here that they're depositing is $100. Okay. It's increasing at a rate of 5%. 5% is the same thing as 5 cents, right? It's increasing by that. So our base is always 1. So we take the 1 and add that 5%. So this is going to be your function. Okay. The function h of x equals 25x represents the cost of a dinner at a restaurant for a group of x people. The dinner can only be held if at least 10 people show up. And the restaurant can seat a maximum of 40 people. What is a realistic domain for this function? Domain is values for x. Okay. So it has to be in between 10 and 40. So C and D are already out. A says real numbers, B says integers. Real numbers would include fractions. You cannot have a fraction of a person, so that's out. It has to be the integers, right? Integers are the whole numbers. All right, examine the two quadratic functions below. So we have a graph, so of course, what are we going to do? We're going to graph the other one. So if we go to that page on here, it's nice because you'll be able to see both of them. So I'm going to put the g of x in here. So x squared minus 2x minus 24. Okay? And I can't really see what's going on, so I'm going to zoom out. It's a little too far. Okay. Is the minimum value of f of x less than the minimum value of g of x? No. This one is like around -2. And this is less than -20. So that's not true. The minimum value is equal to. Nope, they're not even close. The minimum value of f of x is greater than the minimum value of g of x. That is true. No way to determine is false because we can compare them by looking at the graphs. So for this one, it is C. I'm sorry, I did not share with you the video. Sorry about that. So what I did is I graphed it and then I looked at and compared the graphs to each other. So the answer for this one is that C. The minimum of f of x is greater than the minimum of g of x. Okay, which of the following points is not a solution of the system? Again, we're gonna graph it. So when you go to graph the system, okay, we get out the graphing calculator and oh no, I can't make it smaller so I can see my, oh, there we go. Okay, I'm gonna make it smaller just so I can put my equations in and then I'll make it bigger. All right, so I have x, and then to do The less than sign, I can either type it or you can use the calculator down here. And it has the keypad. And it'll show you less than. 3y minus 3. So you see, it will graph that equation for you and even shade it for you. Then I have 5x minus 2y greater than or equal to 11. So these are my two functions. So now I don't need to really see that anymore, but I do want to see more of my graph. So let's make that bigger. Looks like that's as big as I can make it. So now I'm going to look. So 4, 3. So 4, 3 is right here. And that is inside the two spots. Maybe white would show up better. Okay, so 4, 3 is right here. That is a solution. 4, 4 is right here. Also in the spot that they overlay each other. 3, 4. So 3, 4 is over here. So even though 3, 4 is a solution to the first one, it is not a solution to the second one. And then 5, 3 is also a solution to both. So the only one that's not a solution to both is 3, 4. It falls outside the area that they have in common. So for 34, it's going to be C because it's outside of that common area. Okay. Almost there. Here we go. All right. The population of a city is modeled by the function below, where T is time in years. Based on the model, what is true about the city's population? Now, they're all saying increasing, so that can't be my key. So I need to look at how it's increasing. And they want a percent, so I need to figure out the rate. So to figure out the rate, I'm going to take what's inside the parentheses and subtract 1. Okay, then I take that number and I turn this into a percent, which is 8%. So the answer is B. Okay, almost there, a couple more. What is the y-intercept of the line that passes through the point negative 8, 7 and is perpendicular to the line y equals 2x plus 5? So if it's perpendicular, the slopes are opposite reciprocals. So here I have a slope of 2. So the opposite reciprocal of 2 is negative 1/2. So the opposite reciprocal of 2 is negative 1/2. I want the y-intercept of the line that goes through this point. So I know I'm going to have y equals negative 1/2 x plus b. I know I have 7 and 8. This is my x, this is my y. So 7 equals negative 1/2 times negative 8 plus b. 7 equals 4 plus b. B is equal to 3. Okay. So that's your y-intercept. The length of the shortest side of a right triangle is 11 inches. The lengths of the other two sides are represented by consecutive integers. Which equation can be used to find the lengths of the other sides of the triangle? So I would draw a triangle. So 11 is here. The other ones are consecutive integers. So if this is x, then this is x plus 1. Pythagorean theorem, oh, they want it the other way. Sorry, they want x minus 1. So they want this to be x and this to be x minus 1. And I see that because the Pythagorean theorem says that a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So if this is x squared, which they have multiple times, then this one has to be shorter because the hypotenuse is always the longest. So that's why it's going to end up being D, because we don't know 1, this is not a true statement. And 2, 11 is going to be the shortest side. So x is the longest. Which function describe, skip 38. You don't have to do this one. They're not doing recursive relationships this year. They are also not doing this one. All right. The function g of x equals 4 times the quantity x plus 5 squared plus 3 is a transformation of f of x equals x squared plus 3. Which of the following best describes the relationship between the graphs? So, if you don't know off the top of your head, that's fine. We go to our handy dandy trusty calculator and we just put them both in there and we see what actually happens. So doesn't matter which one you put in first. 4 times x plus 5 squared plus 3 and x squared plus 3. So, going from the from the blue to the red. The red one is narrower and it's shifted to the left. So it would be A. Whenever there's a question about graphs or functions and comparing them, use the calculator to do that. And that's it. That is the whole kit and caboodle.